Hello and welcome. Welcome to Warhammer Wednesday. This might have actually gone up Monday or Tuesday, so a bit premature, but they're here. They're finally here. If you like Warhammer, if you like Games Workshop, this video is definitely for you. Space Marines have arrived. They have landed. They have deep striked into our game. The new release has, drop podded, whatever you want to call it. They're here. This is the White Dwarf. Yeah, White Dwarfs cost a bomb these days, a lot more than when I was a kid. They're now £5.50, but you do get 150 pages, and a lot of people have said that they are kind of like a big advert for their new products, which is kind of true, but there's a lot of other products you might never normally look at, and I think that's pretty cool. Anyway, they're landed. There's some new models in here. If you like Space Marines, if you like this new release, if you like all of the new models, well then maybe get this. That's all I'm saying. It's really good. It sets it up. It allows you to read some of the information about the new products that they're brought out. So this video, you've probably seen from the title, is about these guys. These, in my opinion, I don't. It's like Marmite. You love them or you hate them. You hate them because they're just fugly. You hate them because they're nearly £50 for 3 models, or you hate them because you just don't like their options, their design, the way you can modify them or anything like that. Which is fair point. Or you might like them because they're pretty decent on the battlefield, I would think, given their stats, and you might like them in your army. You know, if you've read some of the fluff behind them, that the Adeptus Mechanicus kind of designed these suits, and the Space Marines were like, yeah, we'll have some of them. The reason why you can't have Terminator armour all the time is because each one has a little bit of the Emperor's, cracked armour in it. What are you going to say? Oh, we found more Emperor's armour. You can't really say that. So there has to be some kind of, Terminator-ish equivalent that can just stomp around with big weapons or power fist kind of things. So here's the back. Here they look even more fugly in the yellow, in the Imperial Fist colours. I think it's the yellow and red. That's what, doesn't do it justice. The blue doesn't look too bad. Really doesn't look too bad. I wonder what mine will look like with the black and the yellow shoulder pads. I don't know. I don't think I'll do them gold. But here we go. So I've just been babbling on for ages. Let's open it using, of course, the legendary titanium WH40K. This just will not even be, yeah, that was just silly, not even any pressure. I put the macro mode on, that's why it's kind of quite close, but I wanted to show you the detail on the sprues. One of these box sets will set you back about, well, £47.50 is the official word, so that's what, £2.50 off 50 quid. In America, I don't know what you guys are paying, it must be what, $80 there, $70, $80. I mean, it's no more expensive than here, and but it's still quite expensive. Like I say, it's not the most expensive hobby. It's more expensive than knives, watches, video games. More expensive than that. So let's have a look at these sprues. Right, so nothing else in there. Okay. So that's all you get. You just get the 3 sprues, but boy are they jam-packed. I'll just show you this one. Well, we'll go through the other peripheral stuff. So you get your instruction books for either the Assault Squad or the Devastator Squad versions. You get some transfers, you get the 3 tubby bases, and you get 3 sprues for... But the thing is, it is a lot of money, but each one of these sprues is jam-packed. As you can see, there's not that much space at all. So that's what you're paying for, guys. You're paying for I mean, the improvement. Look at the detail on some of these things. Look how small those missiles are for the you know, side missile launchers or carapace mounted. Not carapace mounted, but you know what I'm talking about. Belly mounted, I suppose. But there's just so much detail. And the Grav cannons, the las cannons. So you get Grav cannons, las cannons. I think you're getting... I'll tell you what is cool, what I've just found out. See these melter guns? There's absolutely no reason why you can't mod these and have these on normal troops. Likewise with the flamers. They might look a little bit shorter, but that's fine. I'm sure you could do something with those heavy bolters as well. But there you can see power armour, in armour. But that's one sprue you get. Are they all the same? That's the question. Let's have a look. No, they're not all the same. This one's different. This one's different. You do get the same number of flamers and melter guns, 2 las cannons, or a las cannon because it's separated. You get the heavy bolters. It looks very, very similar than the other one, but it's not. Kind of almost has the same amount of things, but just in a different way around. So that's that sprue. And finally, the last sprue has just more of the same: more melter guns, more grav cannons, more las cannons, more missile launchers, the heads, beastie heads. You could use them just for the normal Space Marines. I'm guessing. I'm reckoning. I'm sure you could, and then you'd have some pretty hench normal Space Marines. They'd just be like, oh, we're wearing Centurion helmets, but today we're so badass we don't even need to put on that silly exoskeleton power armour. We don't need power armour and power armour today. We're just, you know, badass. But anyway, that's what you get. The 3 sprues, the instructions and the bases. It's a lot of money, but as you can see, there's a lot of stuff packed on those sprues. And the way I looked at it was, they're now selling plastic special characters, plastic special Space Marine characters for £18, alright? And you're getting 3 models that are bigger and have a lot of detail on for £47.50. So 3 normal special characters would cost you £54, is it? Yeah, £54 for 3 special characters, and now these are 3 larger dudes for less than that. I know some people might not see it that way, but let's carry on. And in the next part, it's not from the knife, by the way, that's a cat incident. In the next part, I'm just going to show you these 3 sprues in miniature form, glued and completed, not painted, but glued. Give you a chance to see what they look like, you know, constructed. Anyway, join me in part 2. Hello and welcome to part 2. I hope you can see the models on the cutting mat. I don't normally use a cutting mat. I usually hold the model and cut it in my hands. Very naughty, I know, but I hope you can see them on the cutting mat. It's just something that I'm thinking about doing, having finished models on this mat. If the greys conflict, please tell me, put it in the comments by all means, and then I'll use a green one or something like that. But I just thought I'd have something to put them on. Anyway, going back to these models, yes, honestly the pictures don't really do them justice. They look very, very fugly in pictures, but now that I've got them and I've glued them and things, they don't look too bad. The loadout I've given them is missile launchers on the chesticles, or whatever you want to call them, and grav cannons and grav amps on all of them, and I'll tell you why in a moment. But this is one of the Centurions that I've made. He's just strolling about. He doesn't look too bad. The only negative thing I can really think about with these models is all this cabling at the back. You're so used to seeing Space Marines and Dreadnoughts and things with not much cabling, but it seems like these guys have got even more cabling than Dreadnoughts. I understand why they've done it, because it does need to fit to the power plant, and you know, it does need to be quite long for them to stretch and move their arms. But it's just the only negative I can think of, really, apart from the obvious being, you know, that the head seems too small for the body. Where do their arms go? Things like that. I know where their arms go. They're crossed in front of their chest, but it just doesn't. You know, when you've got arms there as well, it just, you know, on face value, it looks like their arms are in their arms. But anyway, that's just a small point. They're not as bad as I thought that they would be. You can see the Adeptus Mechanicus symbol there, because they kind of did make these suits of armour, if you read all the fluff and things. The grav amp there, it's a shame you can't have, you know, twin linked grav cannons to have your shots re-roll misses, but I think re-rolling wounds or re-rolling, I think you can re-roll the weapon, you know, the result against vehicles. Don't completely quote me on that, but that works. I mean, I'd much rather it be symmetrical and have the same weapon on each arm, but that's the option. There isn't an option for twin link grav cannons, so there we go. They're not as bad as I thought, really, having them. And don't worry, I'm not just going to pick them up and hold them and stuff. I am going to do some size comparisons, because I think that is very useful. This is another Centurion. I've got him just with his hand just semi, you know, half closed kind of thing, and then this one as a fist. They all, their arms can be put on pretty much any of the torsos. The actual torsos can be put on any of the legs, and the heads can be swapped around, the shoulders can be swapped around, and you could have a different left arm, a different right arm, and, you know, combine them. This is just work for me with these ones. But again, with the cabling, look. But you can see that there's a Space Marine inside there. There isn't like the torso of a Space Marine or anything like that, or the arms in there. You don't get anything like that. You literally, the leg piece, the back of the leg piece just has this part of the power armor. Hope you can see that, to give the impression that he'd just walk in. But it's difficult how that would work anyway, because there's all this cabling in the way and this big heavy power plant. It's quite a, it's not just a press a button and then he pops out of it. I think it's quite a ritual to put the Marines in these battle suits, because that's what they are. They're not suits of armour, because a suit of armour is obviously what you'd put on. It's what they've already got on. This is a battle suit, so you'd put on a suit of armour and then you'd put on a battle suit. Very similar to the Dread Knight, if you've seen that, or the, you know, baby carrier, if you want to call it that. But there we go. I mean, I think people complain if you encase the Space Marine fully in a suit of armour, in a battle suit, sorry, or if you just have him, you know, hung there on a Dread Knight and he's not completely closed. So I think people complain either way, but that's another one. And then finally, this is going to be the Sergeant, or Veteran Sergeant, and he's just in the static pose. So to counterbalance the static pose, I put him with the finger of doom kind of thing, pointing at something in the distance. And his helmet is slightly different to the others. It's got the omniscope, which means that on a successful roll of a leadership test, one of these of your choosing can opt to fire at a completely different target other than the other two in the unit. But it's just one of the models. I did contemplate about having them all with twin link las cannons, and yes, that's really good range, but I'll talk about why in a little moment, why I chose against that. I put this little extra thing on there for him, but again with the cables, they're not as bad as I thought that they would be. They're quite chunky fellas in terms of like bulk. I mean, they are very bulky, so each one counts as 3 models, but you can fit them in a Land Raider. I don't know how that would actually work, whether they have to, you know, shuffle in you know, bomb first. Or I think it's just laughable that these can fit in one of those. I haven't got a Land Raider on me right now in my pocket or anything, but if I did, I could probably show you how that just would look quite silly. But that's the rules. They count as 3, so you could put these 3 guys in a normal Land Raider. You can actually put 5 of them in a Crusader, because a Crusader can hold 16 models. So you could have the full 5. I think the squad you can have 6 in total. But anyway, I digress. The reason why I chose the Grav cannons over the las cannons or the heavy bolters is they've got missile launchers, so they can fire their frag missiles. So 3 frag missiles at a large group of weak armed units is pretty decent. And I'd probably use just more Space Marines if I knew I was going against Tyranids or Orcs or Eldar, things with paper armor or t-shirt saves. So the Grav, so that's why I've got the missile launchers, just to give that little option of frag and crack missiles, and that gives them a little bit more range. They're 48-inch range, so they can just fire at vehicles, fire at even normal Space Marines. You could shoot them at. But the Grav cannons, why did I choose the Grav cannons over the las cannons? Because, well, the las cannons, I could have had 2 guys with twin link las cannons, but that's only 2 shots at the end of the day. It is only 2 shots, and you know, sometimes you roll 1s, so you might get 2 or you might get 1 die. The Grav cannons, I've found that these Centurions have the special rule slow and purposeful, which means that they can move and fire heavy, salvo, or ordnance weapon. I think it's ordnance weapons. And they count as being stationary when fired. And Grav cannons are salvo weapons, so it kind of overrules their the salvo rule of if they move they can only fire half range and the first number on the list, or if they stay stationary they can fire up to the maximum range and fire all the shots on the second bit. I know I'm talking about rules and things, but I just think it's important to mention that when choosing these weapons, and seeing as Games Workshop are trying to push these weapons and particularly these models anyway, and these are the only models at the moment that have Grav cannons from what I can tell, and I think that serves its purpose in promoting how good these weapons are. Basically they're like rapid fire weapons in a way, but you've actually, yeah, they're very similar to rapid fire weapons, with the bolt gun, but on a much grander scale. So in theory they can move the 6 inches, and because of slow and purposeful they can fire their 24-inch range and fire 5 shots. So you've got 5 shots, alright, 5 shots each, alright, that have armor penetration 2, so it's going to be killing a lot of things. And you can re-roll the wounds, the concussive, so any unsaved wounds on like a big character or a big monstrous creature, they then are at initiative 1 for the remainder of the assault phase, so the upcoming assault phase, which can be really handy. So that's another little rule. And also they've got the graviton rule as well, which means that they can wound things on their armor save. So if you're going against Terminators, they'll be wounded on a 2+, and you know, things like that. And vehicles, I think they immobilise and knock off a hull point on a 6, but all the other rolls of the dice don't really do anything. So they're quite formidable weapons, and they've got lots of like little special rules with them, and that's why I chose them over the las cannon. Because yeah, las cannon is a surefire way of, you know, it's a strength 9 weapon, it's AP2 I think, and you know, you do need 4, 5s or 6s on vehicles anyway with las cannons, but you get a lot less shots. These you get more shots, but you make up for that with the range. They're half the range of a las cannon, but it's all about the tactics. If you can, I don't think you can deep strike these, but if you put these in a Land Raider, I don't know about a Storm Raven, I'll have to look up on that, but if you put them in a Land Raider, you can just, you know, drive them up wherever, hop them out, shoot the 24 inches, and, you know, implode things. That's my impression of what these weapons would do. They'd vibrate a target, I suppose. I know that's like a vibro cannon, but in my opinion, they'd just kind of like just squish enemies from the inside and things, just like in space. I mean, I hope I don't get any scientists saying that's complete rubbish, but that's just my impression of how they'd work, of just hypothetical of these made-up weapons, I suppose. But anyway, that's why I chose them. I'm running with the Grav cannons. My next ones, I might just have them as an all-out anti-infantry. So I'll probably have the hurricane bolters on the chesticles, and have heavy bolters, twin-linked heavy bolters, and then you're getting 27 shots. I think it is. I would think that's right. But that's what I'm running in. I don't mind them now, having glued them and things. I'd say difficulty-wise of making these models, I'd probably say they're about a 2, maybe a 3, just because of the cables, I suppose, and a couple of other bits. But overall, I'd probably give them a 2 in difficulty. I cut them all off the sprue, and I had no problems, and I didn't even use the instructions. So, they're not too difficult to make whatsoever. The thing I will say, as you can see in the background, I don't know whether this is a feature I might do all the time. I might just bring the spare bits on and just leave you with these. But this is all of your spare parts. You do get 6 las cannons spare, 6 heavy bolters, all the siege drill things. You get a spare normal helmeted head, and you get 3 kind of bare helmeted heads. Heads without helmets. You get the siege drill things. You get the frag assault launchers and the hurricane bolters, like the barrels of them, or the muzzles, whatever you want to call them. And then you get 6 melter guns and 6 flamers spare. And I think that these melter guns can actually, I think you could use these as a normal melter gun and have no problems whatsoever, which is really cool. But at the same time, looking at all that extra stuff, I think that's about 10 or 15 pounds worth of spare parts. I really do. And I think that they could have reduced the cost of this box to 30 quid, or maybe 32 quid if they split the boxes up. So you had Devastator Centurions and Assault Centurions, like they do with the Terminators. But alas, I think that when they first brought out Terminators, they just had them with the Stormbolters and the Power Fists in plastic, 5 of them. And the only way to get the Assault Terminators was to get them individually or in a pack of 2 that were metal, or zinc, or whatever you want to call it. So therefore they've kind of covered both bases in going, oh well, we would have had to make another separate mould for the assault ones and a separate one for the Devastators, and also because they look quite fugly, we might not sell. Well, they wouldn't say that obviously, but we probably won't sell as many assault Centurions. So we'll just stick one box with everything in it, which it's expensive because you're paying an awful lot there for all those special parts or spare parts. When am I really going to use many of these las cannons? I don't know. Sponsons for vehicles, they come with the las cannons on. I mean, the heavy bolters, with a bit of modding, you could probably put them in squads, because there's these new heavy bolters with these ridiculous magazines, or whatever you want to call them. The siege drills and things probably won't use. Melter guns and flamers, well, I now have way too many to actually use. But you get my point. You're getting an awful lot of spare stuff, and some people might like that because they like to kit bash and things. But for me, that's just too much for me to handle in terms of spare parts, and it just saddens me a little bit how that's included in the price, and that's money that's just laying there now, which is a bit of a shame. But apart from all the spare parts you get, which is a lot, I'm not really. I like them I like them more than when I saw the pictures and things, and I think when you have them, you probably feel the same. You might not. You might completely hate them. Anyway, I've been talking for so long. I do apologise. It's just I had a lot of things to say about them. Size comparisons probably very important. It is a normal Space Marine. As you can see, the head is about the same size, so you could probably put a normal head. That head is like a cross between a Terminator head and a normal, Mark 6 power armor helmet. As you can see, they're on the very large bases. Well, they look very large to me. They're a lot bigger than a normal Space Marine. Probably double the size of a Terminator. I hope this size comparison's helping you a bit, just how big they are compared to a Terminator. They are bigger, but there you go. I just thought that would help, the little size comparison. I really do. I don't absolutely love them. I want to see how they perform in a game before I pass comment on that. But in terms of the models, I think they're not too bad, and they certainly kept me occupied building them and things for a few hours. Three of these in one box will set you back £47.50, which is a lot of money. But as I've said before, especially they're selling these special characters, which is basically this size, for £18 each now. So and look how much more kind of plastic you get, kind of thing, and you get all the extra things. So they're still quite pricey, and you still want to find out whether you'd need them or want them in your army. I've just got them because they're new, and I'm really interested in how they perform on the battlefield. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this video. Sorry it was very, very long, but I understand they're expensive, and it's a high cost item really, and you want to watch a lot of things and get a lot of people's opinions before you sink a lot of money into them, because they're nearly a Storm Raven, aren't they? And they're a lot more than a Land Raider. Anyway, I hope you found it useful. If you have enjoyed this video at all, please do comment, rate and subscribe. The best thing you can do is just tell your friends and things about me. Watch other people's videos that do the Warhammer and things, that helps. And leave a comment if you wish. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me today. Thanks for watching. The Emperor protects.